These are crispy pork noodles from the Guizhou province. At first glance, they might look a lot like Sichuanese dandan noodles, but this dish is all about the pork. Because not only is it served with a generous handful of the titular crispy pork, it also uses its rendered lard as the sizzling oil that's splashed over the fragrant chili powder. The end result is obviously pretty packed with flavor. But by happy accident, it also happens to be a bit more straightforward to replicate at home than a lot of other Sichuan or Guizhou street food noodles. The thing is a specialty of the town of Bijie, a medium-sized Chinese city a couple hours drive west from the provincial capital of Guiyang. The city itself is very Guizhou. The mountainous terrain forces a certain density, and there's a certain Guizhou grit to it that I find charming. I mean, where else do the street grilled potato stands have little cup holders built in for your morning Bijie? And further on brand, the city loves its Cuishao. That is, Guizhou's famed crispy pork. This addictive little ingredient is made by slowly rendering out the lard from a vat of fatty pork till the whole thing's more or less deep frying in its own oil, and continued to cook until everything is absurdly crunchy. This dish is an answer then to what should be done with that leftover lard. And I mean, a spicy noodle is definitely as solid of an answer as any. Now, we've covered how to make actual true blue Cuishao on this channel before, but today we did want to try to simplify things. Because like a Cuishao noodle as a happy byproduct of Cuishao manufacture makes a ton of sense. But a whole batch of Cuishao as a byproduct for a snacky noodle, definitely a good deal less. Because to make the stuff, that big vat-sized portion really does help. And experience also helps, as a minute short in the Cuishao won't be crunchy, but a minute long and the stuff will burn. So instead, today, this is our Cuishao-like object. It's still crispy, it's still crunchy, it still works perfectly great in the context of this specific noodle, but it turns what would have been a weekend project into an easy weeknight snack. So to make it then, we'll be using 120 grams of pork belly per serving. So today, for us, 2 people, 240 grams. Just cut them into about half-centimeter strips a bit like this, then mix well with a quarter teaspoon salt and a half tablespoon of soy sauce. Once mixed, coat it all with a generous 2 tablespoons of oil and add it to a cool wok or pot. Then, over a medium flame, slowly fry and render out the lard. This all will take a hot second, about 20 minutes or so. You won't need to nurse it the entire time, just keep an eye on things and stir it and flip it periodically. Once you're looking at something nice, brown, and crispy, a bit like this, strain and of course reserve that rendered lard. Add the pork back to the wok. Toss in a teaspoon of honey mixed with a tablespoon of water and quickly blast it all over a high flame. Once the water's gone and everything's mixed and coated, about 15 seconds, remove it and drain it on a paper towel. And then, besides that, honestly, there's really not all that much else we'll need to sort. For the chili powder, you will want some kind of vibrant red chili powder. This here is a Yunnan sort from Chubei, of which Korean gochugaru would be a direct substitute. Now, I do love my gochugaru, it's a great powder, and if you personally find it spicy enough, just use a tablespoon half of that, it will work great. But for us, we'll personally be cutting it with a spicy chili flake. Something like a good cayenne pepper might hit a similar spice level, but do use what you like. Then, besides that, we've also got a simple noodle seasoning sauce. Per serving, 1/8 teaspoon salt, quarter teaspoon MSG, tablespoon soy sauce, 3/4 teaspoon dark vinegar, and a tablespoon of water, a bit of chopped scallion, and, of course, our noodles. Now, the noodles that they use at the Cuishao shops in Bijie are thin, alkaline egg noodles, of which Cantonese wonton noodles are really quite similar, and do have the advantage of being available worldwide. So today, we'll use those, 80 grams of dried noodle per serving, and boil them until they're done, or about 2 minutes. Then nestle them in the bowl with your seasoning sauce below, and sprinkle over your chili powders, scallion, and crispy pork. Then just grab 2 tablespoons per serving of your previously reserved rendered lard. Heat it up until it's smoking, and sizzle it all over everything. And then with that, you've got yourself some crispy pork noodles. Just mix it well, super well, it will be slightly sticky, and devour.
So Bijie is an awesome place for food, as most places in Guizhou. They are very famous for their chili, as you may be able to tell from this video. They also have this very famous fermented soybean that's used in hot pots. And they also have their local bitter buckwheat vinegar that's used around that region. It got a really nice fragrance and not very sharp. So after comparing, we find the Chinese xiangcu to be a little bit more matching to that taste. And if you can't find any Chinese vinegar around you, in this application, we think balsamic will actually be perfect. So right, check out the recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. And of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos. What?